Dad lied about buying a new house with borrowed money and didn't invite me to the welcome party because he and stepmom hated me for years. I did something he'd regret. I ruined my dad's housewarming party a few days ago for good reason, so please listen before judging. Mom died in a freak accident when I was 5. My dad was single for a long time and didn't date again until I was 13, so we were close. He did so until he started dating my stepmom. I had a strange 15th birthday, Nora, belief that Nora disliked me during their 2-year courtship before marrying. Her regular behavior around me didn't bother me because I couldn't complain about not getting preferential treatment. After my dad and Nora were married, we lived together until I went to college. But when I returned home to live with my parents until I got a job, things changed. Nora hated me now, unlike before. I never said these things because I thought she didn't like me, but when I returned after graduation, she made it clear she didn't want me to stay with them. My dad told me she was battling with family issues when I asked. Since I kept thinking this was my fault, I left as soon as possible and avoided Nora. I avoided talking to her when visiting my dad in recent years. Since Nora doesn't like me, I rarely talk to my dad about her. My dad contacted last week to say they were relocating after breaking their lease and buying a house. My dad buying a house astonished me because his business had struggled for years, but I was happy for him. I congratulated him and offered to help move. I stayed with him since he accepted my offer. Just like everyone else, a few relatives told me they were having a housewarming and I wasn't invited. Naturally, my dad said Nora when I questioned why he wasn't sure about me going to the party. She says my dad shouldn't bring up his past mistakes because this is a new start for the family. Instead of agreeing with Nora's statements, he said he understood and respected her feelings. Despite our friendship, he didn't invite me or his ex-in-laws. He didn't say I was his mistake, but if he followed Nora's comments, I presumed he did. I cut them out of my life after a bad disagreement with my dad over his destructive conduct. I couldn't believe he chose Nora over his son. When I told my maternal grandparents, they were upset since the Y had always treated me well. Father like their own son after my mother died, which surprised them. Nora adversely affected him, they said. She's foolishly competing with her family because my mother is gone. We don't know her issue with us. Although we treated her nicely, she constantly had an attitude around us, showing how sad she is to compete for no cause. I kept quiet for a few days. My aunt asked me why I wasn't going to my dad's housewarming, as she believed a business retreat on the same day wasn't enough. I had no notion what she meant. I informed her that I would skip this function because I wasn't invited. We then learned that my dad had been lying to all the guests about why I wouldn't be going to avoid questioning, telling them I had a work retreat on the same day and wanted to go, which was why I was skipping his housewarming celebration. That annoyed me, so I told my aunt everything. I told her Nora said I was my dad's past mistake and he followed her. My pain caused me to spew drama. She listened, was upset, and said she would talk to my dad to resolve the issue. But I refused, told her it would worsen. She said she wouldn't talk to my dad, but I could stop him from lying. My aunt told me that my father had been telling everyone he bought the house with his own money, but we knew his business was faltering and were worried. My naive dad told my aunt about his reservations, that he borrowed heavily from an heirloom rich business associate. Business associate Sam worked with me, father, for years. Before Sam left, they were close friends and had numerous dinners. Dad told Sam I needed money from him for expenses, but his business was failing, so he couldn't help. Not disappointing his son was his goal. He borrowed from Sam to buy a new house because he had saved enough and wanted a little more. He planned to buy a new home to save rent and pay Sam later if his business went off. In contrast, he had to pay rent monthly or be evicted. He boasted about this great idea to my aunt, who warned him it was dishonest, but he didn't care. He told everyone he could succeed as a homeowner alone, but my aunt knew. The best part was that he didn't have to invite Sam to the party because he didn't live here. My aunt didn't give me any ideas, but I understood how to get back at my dad. I thought about it days. I called Sam because my father insulted me. I called Sam and told him everything and asked for his help since I couldn't let this go. Despite my doubts, he agreed swiftly and said he would. Can't believe my dad did it. He initially resisted helping my dad since he wanted to use his fortune for his kids and save for retirement. He also knew my dad's business was faltering. When my dad will reimburse the money was unknown. He wasn't sure about giving him money, but my dad was so emphatic and even passionate about how much he wanted to help me but couldn't, so Sam gave him the money. Now to find out it was a scheme to get money from him so he could buy a new house and not invite me to the housewarming celebration. His supposed willingness to help his son was awful. The cherry on top was that a few of acquaintances told him my dad had bought a new house, and when he questioned him, my dad lied and said it was from the money his wife had saved up, and that he had not used $1 from what he had borrowed because it was for me. After being deceived, Sam was furious and easily convinced to accept my plan. Sam and I arrived at my father's house for the celebration. We shocked him, but he didn't want to raise a scene, so he grabbed us aside and told us to leave. For now, he wanted us to leave to avoid problems. Promised to clarify later. That wasn't for Sam and me. We said we didn't care and he deserved it. Despite his claims, my father had not saved enough money to buy this home on his own. We shouted our announcement. We told him what he told Sam and how he borrowed money from him to aid me. Then, he didn't thank me when I helped him move in since Nora didn't want me. We revealed all. His deception, stunning guests. After finishing, Sam and I parted ways. Since then, calls continue. Because I want to know my dad's upset, I haven't blocked his calls. He kept begging me to apologize to the visitors and say I was joking, since it was affecting his reputation with friends and relatives. He didn't care about my feelings, so why should I? He hasn't apologized for their treatment of me. Neither calling me a mistake nor lying to Sam about anything bothers him. I don't feel sorry since he deserves a lot of trouble. The roommate feels terrible for him. Since we lived together for 4 years and great friends, my roommate knows my life. He listened to me and said my actions were pointless. He thinks I should have cut him off if my father had made it clear he didn't want to be around. I was no better than him by playing into his hands, causing drama and being cruel. Perhaps Nora. I told him he wouldn't understand my challenges because he didn't have family issues. After arguing, we haven't spoken for 2 days. Considering his perspective, I'm questioning if I did well. I could have ignored it. I would have to expose my dad at his housewarming celebration uninvited. People questioned about my connection with Nora, and I didn't know how to respond. I said our link was weak. I always said she gave me a perspective, although she was polite before. Her cold start gave me an unusual energy. I tried not to overreact because she was new to our family and probably just getting used to having a child. She insulted me after college. And that surprised me. Dad never commented, even though it happened in front of him. Nora appears content with her family, therefore I don't understand his family issues defense. They attended the housewarming. Nora probably mistreated me because she wanted me out of the house and was used to my absence since I was in college for 2 years and only returned home around the holidays. My dad let her act aggressively to get me out. Still gave him the give it another chance, but after this I doubt it will work. I don't know why Nora dislikes me. I've never made her insecure. She is, though. You must be pitiful. The way it is. We've always been close. So my aunt telling me about my father's house buying method wasn't surprising. She's always been righteous, unlike my father. She was my sole mother after my mother died, so she questioned me why I didn't attend the housewarming. She didn't mention Sam or my father because if she did, it might induce an dispute with my grandparents, something she didn't desire. Okay, I think. This is irrelevant as I've never loved my paternal grandparents. I decided to chat to my roommate as we haven't talked in 3 days. Want to keep my close pal. I told him how deceived I felt by my father's treatment. I didn't expect him to comprehend due of his joyful upbringing, but it stinks. I assumed he would understand because I was talking to him, but he called me petty and juvenile. He accepted my explanation after my best efforts. Didn't understand, conflict worsened. He finally told me he didn't want to be friends with a drama queen like myself. He said he shouldn't expect my friendship if I wasn't loyal to my father. I thought that was stupid and ludicrous, so I told him I was finishing my apartment contract by the end of the month, and we could split up. He was kind when he learned my father had not invited me to his welcome ceremony despite my helping them move in, but so he changed his mind. I regret. I will not accept rudeness. I've contacted friends and started looking for nearby apartments. I had planned to move out and live alone by the end of the year, but I may do it sooner. My family's condition follows my roommates. After the incident, my father kept phoning but I didn't respond. He probably knew I wouldn't help. His last call, text, and attempt to reach me was many days ago. Nora texted me a few days earlier that I was awful and disappointed my father. I told her my father was a complete letdown, so I think it's equal. She stopped texting. Aunt told me my family is against my father because he keeps saying Sam and I lied to harm his name. Yet everyone knew his business was in disarray and he couldn't afford this mansion. Although my father did something bad, my grandparents are unhappy with me because they think I should have confronted him in person instead of airing our dirty laundry in public. Since I don't care what they think, they may be furious. We've never gotten along because they're rigid and more concerned with appearance than character. We haven't talked in years and we probably won't. Sam and I split ways and didn't talk for a while. 2 days. We had nothing to talk about, but Sam said my father called him yesterday. Despite this, my father played victim. After being friends for so long, he said he never expected Sam to stab him in the back and tried to make me look like I was lying and manipulating him. He stated my father asked Sam for the money today since I begged for help. I broke my pledge because Nora was upset at me for being cruel to her, and I was mad at both of them. Damage his reputation. Because it was so vital he would try to repay his loans before year's end. I think he should have done that regardless of the significance, but my father is prideless. Luckily, Sam didn't fall for that bluff and told him he thought my father would be honest after their long acquaintance. Even it was too much for him. Sam barely spoke to my dad, saying he demanded his money back or his lawyer would call. He was smart to persuade my dad to sign the contract, and I'm glad he'll pay the price for breaking his word. Update 2: I left after 1 month. I blocked my ex-roommate on all social media to avoid seeing him again. The last 2 weeks we were together were my hardest. Our unit deal. Due to our long silence, he started acting like I was Medusa and wouldn't look at me, which upset me. It seemed he didn't value our friendship. I left because I couldn't change it. I had to cut him out of my life because he didn't say goodbye when I left the flat. It was hard. I did it for me, and most of my friends agreed. That occurred to my family and roommate. My aunt is the only family member to contact me since then. No one is talking to my dad or myself, which makes no sense given I did it. Nothing incorrect. My aunt claims that my grandparents have brainwashed all the other family into believing that, even if my father made a mistake, I was wrong for humiliating him in public with Sam. Sadly, most of my relatives believed that. I have nothing to say about that. Many of these people were good to me as a child, but they probably left. I accept that only my mother's family considers me family. Auntie always backs me. She cut off her parents and me. Parents because she no longer needs their approval. She can survive without it if I can. Personally, I'm happier without my family. Update 3: after 2 weeks. My dad and Nora tried to contact me again a few days ago. Instead of meeting, I blocked and ignored both texts. After that, they arrived at my company during lunchtime, and I didn't want them to embarrass me by throwing a fit in the lobby, so I requested the receptionist to delay them and took them to a neighboring restaurant to escape my coworkers. I yelled at them because I didn't like their privacy invasion and was embarrassed that they were at my business. I was relieved when they apologized but requested contact. They apologized after sitting down in the restaurant because they realized they had mistreated me. Nora verified what I already knew about her. She sought to undermine our relationship because she was jealous of my dad's attachment to me, since it made her think he was still devoted to his late wife. Dad apologized for fooling around. No need to chat, but they wanted to apologize. I accepted their apologies but didn't want anything to do with them since I'm finally happy and don't want them to ruin it. I expected anger, but they were okay. My time was respected, so we terminated lunch and they paid before leaving. I'm delighted they apologized and fixed issue, but I don't trust them now, and probably never will. Closure helped me move forward. I don't want to forgive and reconnect now. I may approach them in a year or two after thinking about it. My life is good, as I said in my last update.